Imagine Pomni finally finds the exit. She pushes through, steps outside the circus, and for the first time, she's free. But here's the thing that keeps bugging me. What does she look like on the other side? Is she still a jester with mismatched eyes? Or is she suddenly a real person, a human being sitting in a chair somewhere with a headset on? Because depending on how the show decides to answer that question, it could completely reshape what we think the amazing digital circus actually is. If you've been following the series, you already know the basics. The circus is a digital world, a virtual reality environment where human minds are trapped inside cartoon avatars. These people had real lives, real names, real faces, and all of that got stripped away the moment they plugged in. Caine runs the show from the inside. The performers go on adventures to keep from losing their minds, and Abstraction is basically the worst possible fate, where you lose yourself entirely and get sent to the basement. We've seen a lot of this world by now. We know how it works, we know its rules, we know its dangers, but there's one thing nobody really talks about, and it's kind of a big deal. What does the outside actually look like? If someone gets out, how does the show represent that? And the more I think about it, the more I realize each possible direction says something completely different about the story. The first possibility is live action, actual human beings on screen. Think about what that would feel like for a second. You've spent however many episodes watching these bright, exaggerated cartoon characters bounce around a surreal playground, and then one of them escapes, and suddenly you're looking at a real person in a real room. Maybe it's a dim office, maybe it's a hospital bed, maybe it's just some apartment with a VR rig on a desk. The contrast would be almost uncomfortable, and I think that's exactly why it could work. If the show went this route, it would basically be telling you that everything you watched was fake. Not just within the story, but visually, on every level. The circus was a prison for the characters, and in a way, it was doing the same thing to you as a viewer, keeping you locked inside the same colorful illusion without you even noticing. That kind of format break can be incredibly powerful when it's done right. You've probably seen it before in other media, those moments where a show suddenly shifts its entire visual language and it catches you completely off guard. It stops feeling safe. It stops feeling like the thing you thought you were watching. But and I keep going back and forth on this, there are some real problems with that approach. The amazing digital circus has a very specific identity. It's colorful, it's absurd, it's got that chaotic energy that makes it feel unique. If you suddenly cut to live action, even for a powerful emotional scene, you risk breaking something that's hard to put back together. The tone of the series has always balanced horror with comedy, and live action might push it too far in one direction. It could feel jarring in a way that takes people out of the story rather than pulling them deeper in. And honestly, I'm not sure a show that has Jax making sarcastic comments every 5 minutes can pivot to showing a real human crying in a hospital without it feeling like two completely different projects stitched together. So would it be powerful? Absolutely. Would it be risky? Maybe too risky. And that's the tension with this idea, because the emotional payoff could be enormous, but the cost to the show's identity might be just as big. Which brings me to the second possibility, and honestly, I think this one is way more interesting. What if they escape and they're still animated? What if they walk through the exit, step into what's supposed to be the real world, and nothing changes? They still look like themselves, still cartoon characters, still Pomni, still Gangle, still Kinger, just standing in a place that looks different. Now, at first, that might sound like a letdown, like the show is playing it safe. But think about what it actually implies. If they leave the circus and they're still animated, it means one of two things. Either the real world isn't actually real, it's just another layer of the simulation, another room in the same digital prison. Or, and this is the one that really gets to me, they can't go back. Their human forms are gone. Whatever process trapped them inside the circus didn't just put them in costumes, it replaced them. The people they used to be don't exist anymore. Picture this for a second. They escape. They push through whatever barrier is keeping them in. They step out into something that looks like a normal street, normal buildings, a normal sky. But they look down at their hands and everything is exactly the same as it was inside. The same gloves, the same cartoon shape, as if the circus followed them out and nothing about them actually changed. That connects to something the show has been building toward for a while. This idea that identity inside the circus isn't temporary. Abstraction isn't just going crazy, it's losing yourself so completely that there's nothing left to save. And if that logic extends to the performers who haven't abstracted yet, then maybe even they've already lost more than they realize. Maybe the human versions of these characters died a long time ago, and what's left is just the avatars running on borrowed time, convinced they're still people because they can still remember being people. If you think about it from a horror perspective, this is way scarier than live action. Live action says you can escape and things go back to normal, which is honestly kind of reassuring. But Staying animated, even outside the circus, says there is no normal to go back to. The simulation isn't a layer you peel off, it's you now. And that kind of psychological horror, the idea that freedom itself might be an illusion, fits perfectly with the tone the show has been building. It's absurd on the surface, but deeply unsettling underneath, which is exactly what the amazing digital circus does best. And there's another angle here that I can't stop thinking about. What if the outside they reach is still being generated by the same system? What if Caine, or whatever is running the circus at a deeper level, anticipated that someone might try to leave and built a fake exterior just to keep them contained? You'd have characters celebrating their freedom while the audience slowly realizes they never left at all. That's the kind of twist that would genuinely mess with people, because it means every moment of hope was manufactured, every step toward the exit was part of the design. But while I was thinking about all of this, something else hit me, something that kind of makes the whole live action versus animation debate irrelevant, because we've been assuming this entire time that there's a human form waiting for them on the other side. What if there isn't? Think about how the circus actually works. These characters didn't walk through a portal. They didn't physically step into a digital world with their bodies intact somewhere outside. What happened is that their minds were digitized, their consciousness was copied, uploaded, converted into data, and once that process was done, the original body was either left behind to deteriorate or it was never part of the equation to begin with. We keep imagining this scene where someone escapes and wakes up in a chair somewhere, pulls off a headset, looks at their real hands. But that scene assumes the body is still there, still alive, still waiting. And there's no reason to believe that's the case. This changes the entire framing of the escape. The circus isn't functioning like a door you walk through and can walk back out of. It's functioning like a conversion, a one-way process. The human that entered doesn't exist on the other side anymore because the act of entering destroyed them, or at least made them irrelevant. What's inside the circus isn't a trapped person, it's what's left of a person after everything physical about them was stripped away and rebuilt as code. And if that's true, then escaping doesn't lead to a happy reunion with your old life. It leads to a problem nobody in the show is ready for. I keep thinking about a few possibilities here, and none of them are good. Maybe they step outside and the system was the only thing holding them together, so without it they just come apart, they dissolve, they stop being anything at all. Or maybe they make it out, but they're incomplete, like a file that got corrupted during transfer, recognizably human in shape but glitching and unstable, something that looks like a person the way a broken mirror looks like a face. Or maybe, and this one is the most unsettling to me, they survive the transition, but they come out as something closer to an artificial intelligence than a human being. Their memories are intact, their personality is there, but the biological part of them is gone forever, and what walked out of the circus is essentially a new kind of entity that just happens to think it used to be human. If you sit with that idea for a minute, it reframes everything the characters have been doing. Every time they talk about escaping, every time they fantasize about going home, they're imagining a version of reality that doesn't exist anymore. And the worst part is that even if someone told them this, they probably wouldn't believe it, because from the inside, they still feel like themselves. They still have their memories, their emotions, their sense of who they are. But feeling human and being human might not be the same thing anymore. Honestly, I think this might be the darkest direction the show could take because it removes hope entirely without being dramatic about it. There's no villain keeping them trapped, no lock to pick, no final boss to defeat. The reason they can't go back is just physics, or whatever the digital equivalent of physics is. The process that brought them in can't be reversed because there's nothing left to reverse it into. So, here's where I keep landing. If Pomni escapes, does she become human again, or is it already too late for that? Live action would be bold, maybe the boldest creative choice the show could make, but it might shatter the thing that makes the series work. Keeping them animated is safer in some ways, but the implications are darker because it means the circus didn't just trap them, it became them. And then there's the possibility that none of it matters, that there's no body waiting on the other side, and the escape they've been dreaming about was never physically possible in the first place. And maybe that's the real question the show is building toward, not whether they can escape, but whether there's anything left of them to escape with. So, what do you think would be worse? Getting out and realizing you're still a cartoon, finding out you never actually left, or discovering that the person you used to be is already gone? Let me know in the comments.